Hello and welcome to the first episode of Life in Our 20s. So, in this episode, we're going to be covering the topic of schedules, mainly how you make time for yourself and time for your friends and family, and just learning balance, because one of the big things that I have personally learned growing up is that balance is a difficult thing to understand, but it's a part of growing up. So, you will get better with balancing as time goes on. But it's an interesting thing to me because when you go back and you look at your childhood, you kind of take time for granted. Like it feels like you have all the time in the world to just do anything that you want. And as you get older, you start to realize that time becomes more limited and you kind of have to pick and choose what things you want to focus on. And sometimes there are things that you just have to focus on no matter what, kind of like school, or if you have a job, you have to make sure to focus on those things first. You need to learn how to prioritize, and it can become challenging sometimes because you just feel like you're prioritizing the things that you should, but you quickly kind of come to realize that you kind of put yourself and your health kind of like second to that. And what I mean by this is that you tend to focus on the things that you know you should be focusing on, but you let that consume you and you forget to set aside time for yourself or time to hang out with your friends, because we're all humans, we're social creatures, and we like to hang out with people, it distracts us from the world's problems. So I think the point of this episode today is to kind of look at some tips that may help with balancing, and also kind of just refocus the situation. So that we can understand that we need to make time for ourselves despite all the stress and all the pressures that we have on us, because if not, we will kind of end up getting burnt out. And I can say from experience that this has happened to me a couple of times. I am in college, so there's always issues with making time and making sure to finish all your other tasks that you have to do, all your chores, and make time for work and stuff. So I think the first thing that we need to focus on is that you have to get everything done that's important before you can make time for yourself. I think that's a given. So you need to get like all your chores, all your shopping, do the laundry, your homework. You got to do all of that first before you go and have fun or relax. But at the same time, we can't let that bleed over into our personal time. We have to set limits. So, like, if you think you're not getting enough time for yourself or enough time to hang out with friends or family, take a second to think about what that means to you. Why do you feel that you don't have enough time? Is it actually that you don't have enough time? Or is it more like you are not managing your time correctly? Because I have had this issue where I feel like I have zero time, and then I stop and I think for a little bit, and I realize that I have so much time that I waste every single day when I could be doing something productive. when I could be relaxing, I'm wasting my time doing other things, like scrolling on your phone. I think that's one of the biggest ones right now. With all of this short form media that we consume, it's kind of hard to stay, it's very hard to stay focused. There's so much information being dumped on you in small little bursts that you kind of lose focus on what you're doing. And one small video, 1 2 minute video bleeds into another, and then another, and then another. And before you know it, you've already kind of missed out on 30 minutes to an hour when you could have been doing something else. You could have been planning for the week what you're going to do. You could have been planning what you are going to do with your friends when you do have the time to hang out, when everybody's available. You could be working on your side hobbies, like, like me with my podcast. I've been putting it off for the longest time, in part for real reasons, like my microphone not working, but also just because I got lazy. So instead of waiting for the perfect time to do it, make the perfect time. Like, just jump into it. Do what you think you need to do. So, for example, make sure that you can create a time, like a designated time every week, where you can just unload and make time for yourself. Do something that you like. Watch a movie, read a book, go out for a walk. The walks really help. I can say that from experience. It really helps you clear your mind a little bit and refocus. What are some things that you kind of are missing in life? What are the things that you want to do, but you are kind of not able to at the moment, either because you're not managing your time correctly or because you really actually don't have time? It's an odd thing, because you have to personally craft your own schedule to make sure that it fits around you. So for example, me and my friends, we try to hang out as much as we can, but all of us are just overworked, either from school, jobs, other, hobbies or projects that we have on the side. And when it comes to hanging out, we really only hang out once to twice a month. There are times when we'll go months on end without seeing each other. We do text each other or talk to each other online, but that's different from actual human interaction. So we try to get as much human interaction as possible. I think one of the biggest things that we deal with is, like I said, like cutting out time to be able to do these things that we want to do. So some of us will make plans and then we just end up not going through with them because we're a little lazy, or because we want to relax and kind of wind down after work or school, or we have other commitments that are important as well, like, for example, grocery shopping, or having to do our laundry, or gotta go pay the bills. There's a leaky faucet or something, we need to get somebody to check that out, or I need to get down there and try to fix it. So it's a little hard to kind of get everybody on the same page. But I think a tip to remember in these cases is that, well, everybody's an adult, of course, and we all have our own set of problems that sometimes we don't want to share with people, and you have to respect that. But just because we have these problems and we can't hang out too often, that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. You know, the fact that we hang out less actually makes those times that we do hang out a lot better, because it stands those times, those events stand out more amongst the rest. So it's actually better because we value those times a lot more. If we had our way all the time, it would just kind of be bland, to be honest. Like, if we were to hang out every single day and have fun every single day, it would get boring at some point, or we would take it for granted. And I think that by not hanging out every day, it kind of makes us value that time a little bit more. And, it's a complicated thing to learn to balance, but you do get better at it. I remember, like, my first year of college, it was a little difficult, especially since this was during, like, the lockdown stuff. So everything was online, so I had to try to focus and pay attention in class and not be on my phone and not waste my time. I had to manage my time, and that was something a little difficult, because it's kind of like you're at home and you feel like you should be having a lot of free time, but you have to sit in front of a screen for a couple hours and learn. So I think that's one of the big issues that people had when learning online, was that their schedule was so messed up that they didn't have like a rubric, like a curriculum to follow. So it's kind of like their work life, their school life, bleeding into their personal life. And that's kind of what sets people off a little bit and what makes them lose focus. And I think that's what goes on today too, but in a different way. Like, we do let our work life kind of bleed into our personal life. We're like taking extra shifts, or a task that we thought would take like 30 minutes actually takes an hour or two, and it bleeds into our personal time. So we just need to become better at planning for those unforeseen events, or better at handling those unforeseen events. And yeah, there's of course no one size fits all solution. So I think the best thing to do is to experiment with different ways of, like, tidying up your schedule. Make little changes here or there and slowly build up. Don't make big sudden changes, because it's just going to throw you off. And everybody makes mistakes. Like, nobody's perfect. It's a part of growing up. You make mistakes and you learn from them. I think that one of the biggest takeaways is that you can control what goes on in your life. You just need to find that balance. That balance is key. And it is a little difficult, but once you find it, you can adapt to a lot of different situations, and you respond to things a lot better. And then just some other tips that I have are, like, if you need a day off, take a day off. You're given, like, days off for a reason. Like, yeah, some of them are, like, for example, like in work, you get sick days, so take them when you're sick, or if it's towards the end of the year and you know that your hours are going to expire, use them. Because it's nice to have a little break every now and again, and just make sure not to overwork yourself. Sometimes people overwork themselves just because they're, they think I should be doing something productive, but sometimes even just relaxing and taking a break is productive. It's good for your health, to stay focused and stay happy. I think that's a big thing when it comes to balancing your schedule, is to remember to put yourself first above anything else. So put yourself before work. If you're not healthy enough to go to work today, don't do it. If somebody's asking something of you and you know that you can't go through with it, you're too tired or you're sick or you're just not feeling it today, don't do it. Take a break, It's just those little changes, Focus on yourself a little bit more. And something that I find is like, make sure to enjoy the little things, even the littlest, the smallest moments that you have with friends and family. Make the most of them, If you're going on a quick little trip to a convenience store or something, make sure to strike up a little conversation, because sometimes the most memorable moments that you have are the ones that you least expect to have in that moment. You're just doing everyday things, and out of nowhere you just created a core memory. So make sure to enjoy the little things. And it's just kind of crazy that you have to learn balance in order to be happy. I wish it were easier for people to be happy and kind of figure out how to balance everything. But I think at this point I'm just going to turn it over to anybody that's listening and ask, what are some things that you do to help balance your schedule? What are some of the struggles that you've had? And how have you tried to remedy them? How have you tried to fix them? Are there any tips that I may be missing? Anything that I might have looked over by accident? Because I think the best way to learn to balance is to see what works for other people and kind of adapt that to your schedule and make the changes necessary to make it work for you. This same thing won't work for you, but you can make changes to it to make it work better for you. So, what would you guys say is something helpful? Or is there anything that I'm missing? A bigger picture or something? Because I will be honest, I am not too good at balancing my schedule myself, but I try to do my best. Just make sure to make time for yourself and for friends and family, and carve out a little bit extra time if you're able to. But remember not to make any sacrifices that might affect your health. It's a little tricky, but eventually you'll get the hang of balancing. It's very different from what you may have had in your younger years, like when you were in high school or something, when time just kind of felt like it moved differently. But it gets easier with time, and I'm hoping it gets even easier as time goes on for me as well. So with that, I think I'll leave the episode here. I don't want to make it too long because I feel like listening to one person talk for a long time is a little boring unless the topics are interesting. And to be honest, I don't know if this topic is interesting to any people out there. Maybe everybody out there already knows how to balance their lives, But for me and my friend group, it's a little difficult. We're still trying to learn that. So I hope this was helpful for anybody that needed something like this. And if it wasn't helpful, maybe you could help us and let us know anything, we may have missed. It's probably the third time that I've said that. But I just hope that everybody stays safe out there and you get better at putting yourself first before anything else, and making sure that you stay healthy. Mentally as well, mental health is a big thing. I think it's a little looked over sometimes. People don't really think about it as much, but it should be focused on a lot more. So before I end up rambling anymore, I'll just say goodbye and end the episode here. Hope you guys enjoyed.